Hey everybody, it's Teresa. Hope you're doing well today. It's so nice outside, so I was in the mood to bake something today. And I'm also in the mood for cinnamon, so I thought, why not make cinnamon rolls? So come along with me and we'll make cinnamon rolls. My ingredients laid out. And I wanted to say, I got most of this recipe from a very, very sweet lady on YouTube called Aunt Duddy. And she makes the best cinnamon rolls there is, I think. But I've altered the recipe just a little bit, not much. But I'm going to start with, I warmed 1 cup of milk, and I put 3 teaspoons of yeast. And I'm going to let that dissolve. And then I'm going to put you on the tripod and put you over the mixer. And I'll tell you the ingredients as I go. And I like to always start with my wet ingredients in my mixer bowl first. So I need 1 cup of warm water, 3 teaspoons of yeast. I added just a touch of sugar to the milk for the yeast. And a third of a cup of melted butter. I'm going to pour that in. Okay, and then I'm going to take 2 large beaten eggs, and they're at room temperature. And I'm also going to add a teaspoon of vanilla bean paste, actually. Just a touch. Just 1 teaspoon. Mix that in. And then I'm going to put in a 1/4 of a cup of sugar. And mix that in. And I like to use the combination of the bread flour with the all-purpose flour. I find it seems like it makes the dough a little more tender. You can use all bread flour or all-purpose flour. It probably doesn't make that big of a difference. And the recipe calls for 4.5 cups, but I'm going to only put about I'm going to put 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And I'm going to put 1 cup of bread flour to start. And also a teaspoon of salt. And my butter was unsalted. Okay. I'm going to start mixing this. I'm going to mix this a little bit. And it's going to be really sticky. So then after I mix it in quite a few minutes, if I can get my dough hook on, then I'm going to add the other parts of the flour, and I'll show you that when I get to there. Okay, I mixed that for about 2 minutes, and I had to scrape the bowl a couple of times to get the flour off the sides, and you can see it's very sticky, but I like to start this way. That way I don't add too much flour. So I'm going to go ahead and add another cup. And then I'm going to mix this in. And then I'll get back to that cup in. Now I have another 1/2 cup to add in. And it all depends on the weather and your flour and all of that jazz. Actually, I'm going to add just a 1/4 of a cup to start. And just add it slowly to make sure I don't overflour it. Mixing it for a few minutes. It's getting smoother, and there's still quite a bit stuck to the bottom. So I'm going to add about 1 more tablespoon. I'm just going to add a tablespoon at a time. And I don't want it to be, I want it to be a little sticky actually. But we also want to be able to roll it out. So I'm going to mix this in, and I'm going to knead it for about 4 to 5 minutes, and then I'll bring you back.
It's sticking just a little bit at the bottom, so you can see that. And I'm going to leave it, I want it to be just a little bit stuck to the bottom. And it's getting nice and smooth. And I only have a couple more minutes to knead, but I just wanted to show you what it's looking like.
Okay, I kneaded it for 5 minutes, about 5 minutes, between stopping and starting it. And I also greased a bowl, and I turned the oven light on in my oven. See how it's sticky, but it's not sticking to me? That's how I like it. So So now we just need to get it out of this bowl. And we're going to put it in this nice bowl. So I'm going to take it out. Yeah, it just feels just right. Hopefully they come out well. And I'm just going to take this and shape it to a ball. And I put real butter on the bowl. So I'm just going to roll it around to coat the dough so it doesn't dry out. And I'm going to cover this and put it in my oven for 1 hour. And then I'll take you to the next step. I wanted to show you that I went ahead and prepared a 13 by 9 baking dish. I just sprayed it with cooking spray. I'm going to make the filling. And I think I'm going to use a combination of brown sugar and granulated sugar. I'm going to use a cup total of sugar. So I'm going to use 1/4 cup of granulated sugar and 3/4 cup of packed brown sugar. There, that should do it. And it says 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. I don't really know. How much is in this one? But I have another one. Okay, that's about 1.5. That's the end of that one. But I have another one, thank goodness. I just love cinnamon in the fall. I should have added some apples to these rolls or something, but I like them plain. I'm going to add too much cinnamon now. I don't need a whole tablespoon. There, that should be good. And then you need 1/3 cup of butter. But I'm going to use the butter, softened butter. I'm going to spread the butter first, then sprinkle this on top. So my dough's still rising, and I will be back. Okay, here's my dough. It's been rising for an hour. It's more than doubled in size, that's for sure. That oven light heats my oven up just a little bit. I'm going to take a little flour, make a mess here, flour my hands. I'm just going to shape it kind of into a rectangle. I'm going to roll it out into a rectangle. And I don't use measurements. I just kind of go by eye. Okay, let me move this bowl out of the way. And let's start rolling. We may have to let it rest for a little while. Oops, sorry. So, you don't want to add too much flour. Move that out of the way. I need a bigger counter. I'm going to try to get it about 1/4 of an inch thick. I'm going to have to move this over a little bit. You want to try to get an even thickness, but it doesn't have to be perfect. At least mine doesn't. It never comes out perfect. we're going to use a 13 by 9 pan. So that looks about right. It's a little uneven, but that's okay. Let's measure it. Let's see. It's about 20 by 14. I'm going to take on 1/3 of a cup of butter, and it's softened. And just spread a little thin layer. So I'll spread this, and then I'll bring you back.
And I'll leave about an inch or so, or a half inch border. I don't go all the way to the edge, so we can make sure we seal up the ends when we roll it up. Now we're going to take our sugar and cinnamon mixture and just sprinkle it on top. And you may not need it all. It just depends on what you like, really. Just want to try to get an even coat. I like to kind of spread it out with my pan and kind of even it out like this. See where I have any holes. There's a little bit more here. Hope you can see this well enough. Go a little bit further out right here. These are going to be really sweet. Okay, I'm going to start on the longest end and just start rolling it up. And I try to roll it up as tight as I can. Hope you can see me. Just pull and then roll and stretch it. And mine always comes out a little uneven. They don't have to be, you want them to be pretty, but the most important thing is the taste, I suppose. See, I always have extras on the ends I have to cut off. Okay, I'm going to take this edge and try to seal it. I'm going to have to use a little water. I'm going to pull it over best you can. There we go. Stretch it over. That looks good. Can you see that? Okay. I have my pan. And I'm just going to bake the edges in something else. I'm going to start in the middle, and then cut it in half again, and again. And I'm probably going to cut these into 3. I'm going to take them and just place them in my pan. I'm going to finish cutting these.
Okay, here they are in the pan. And I went ahead and took the ends and I put them in there so I wouldn't waste them. I'm going to cover these, and I'm going to put them back in the oven for 20 to 30 minutes. Just depends. My oven's a little warm, so it may not take as long. I'm just going to keep an eye on them, and we'll move on from there. The dough is rising. I'm going to go ahead and make my icing or glaze. I like it to call it icing because I have cream cheese in it. So I'm going 90 to nothing. I apologize. But in the bowl I have 4 ounces of cream cheese softened and about 4 tablespoons of softened butter. And I'm gonna whip this up. And get it nice and creamy. I should use my other mixer. This one's a little big for this recipe because we don't need a lot. It's pretty soft, so that's probably good. And I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. I always have to have vanilla. It's like my favorite. And then I'm going to add about 1 cup of powdered sugar, confectioner's sugar, icing sugar. I think I usually call it powdered sugar. I probably should sift it, but I really never do. I'm going to add 1.5 cups. And I'm going to mix that in. And then I'll mix that in. It's a little bit thicker than I like. And I also forgot to mention I like to add a pinch of salt. So I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream because it just lightens it up. And I love the consistency you get once you use it. and I'll show you what that in. And I'm also gonna add another tablespoon. I want it a little bit fluffier and lighter. About 2 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream, and this should do it. Let's see. I'll bring it mix for about 2 minutes on high, and this is the consistency. I don't know if you can see. It's light and fluffy, and it's just right for the cinnamon rolls. It's gonna spread really nicely.
Okay, the rolls have been rising for 30 minutes. As you can see, they're really puffed up. I hope I didn't overdo it. Now my oven's preheating, and they usually bake about 20 to 25 minutes. Once they come out, we'll see the results.
Okay, here's the cinnamon rolls. I actually baked them for about 35 minutes. So they're pretty fluffy, which is what I like. And I like a little bit of brown coating on the top. I'm going to let them cool for about 15 minutes. And then I'm going to put the cream cheese icing on top.
Okay, I decided I'm going to go ahead and put the icing on, because I like them to be warm so the icing kind of melts into them. So just slather it on as much as you like. You can also just make a simple glaze with confectioner's sugar and water and vanilla, or milk and vanilla. If you didn't want a cream cheese frosting, you can use a spoon. I just love that to add a little bit of heavy whipping cream. It just lightens it up a lot and gives it a really good flavor. And if you don't use all your frosting, you can always refrigerate it for a few days or freeze it for the next time you make cinnamon rolls. Sometimes I don't use it all. Sometimes I do. Just depends. It just starts melting.
Okay, my camera cut off, but I finished putting the icing and it's melting in all the crevices. And then I'm going to take one out and give it a taste. Okay, it's time to take a taste, and they're still warm. And they're nice and a little bit crunchy on the outside, but really soft on the inside. If you could see that. I like them a little gooey. Ella. Okay. Oh my gosh. These are really, really good. I might not make the prettiest ones. They taste very good. And I thank Aunt Duddy because she's the one who really taught me how to make cinnamon rolls. So thank you so much for watching.